All right, we have some more competitors streaming in. Come on down, grab a seat. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's much better. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our kickoff for the largest drone RAD tournament in the nation. And I say that because we're tied for the largest right now. So that's pretty exciting. Let's give it a hand for being the largest event. Thank you for coming here this evening. I hope you had a chance to practice using your drones. I know we had approximately 30 educators upstairs learning about NASA's advanced air mobility, exciting emerging technologies, of course, from our favorite agency. And tonight, I'd like to invite you to learn a little bit more about what's going on both here at Fairmont State as well as through the RADC Foundation, and then we're going to unveil an exciting mission that NASA is launching in 5 years that also involves drones. So, for a warm welcome and introduction to our campus, I'd like to invite Dr. Myrta Martin, President of Fairmont State University, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ensing, and really I'd like to begin my welcome to you today by saying what we normally say when we have guests here at Fairmont State, and that is welcome home to Fairmont State. At Fairmont State, we're home. And because you are here today, you have gone from being guests to being family. And that's why welcome home to Fairmont State is appropriate. We are very proud to be able to host the largest drone and robotics competition in West Virginia and here at Fairmont State. But that's not just what makes us unique. We're home to so many other areas, so many other initiatives that make us a destination, not just for West Virginians, but also for people throughout the United States and the world. We've hosted the World Robotic Olympics right here at Fairmont State. We partner with NASA, with NOAA, with the FBI to be able to bring new initiatives to this area and to train and to educate the next generation of leaders, you who are here today, to compete in flying these drones or maybe even the robots on the other side. You know, the STEM disciplines are going to be a way of the future. I started my career actually in the STEM discipline, and it has served me well, because what they do is they afford me the opportunity to learn how to analyze, how to synthesize data. And those are skill sets that you're going to need for the rest of your lives. It also will teach you how to work together in teams, how to communicate with each other. That's what employers want in the 21st century. And that's what we do here at Fairmont State University through our hands-on faculty. Incredible faculty, just like Dr. Ensing, who care deeply about their students, who want to pass on to them their passion and their wisdom. we educate the next generation of leaders. For those of you who don't know a little bit about Fairmont State University, allow me just 1 second to tell you some of the things that make us unique. So you're flying drones. So did you know that we're also home to the only FAA 141 flight school program in West Virginia? We are. Not only are we the only flight school program, we're one of 23 schools, universities nationwide, from over 3,000 colleges and universities that was tapped by the U.S. Air Force to train their next generation of Top Guns. That is a distinctiveness that we bring here at Fairmont State, but it's not just for the school, it's for all of us right here in West Virginia. We have the only architecture program in the state. We have the only national security and intelligence program in the state that we partner with the FBI to train their people and certainly to train the next generation of professionals. We have the only police academy in the state that is housed in a university. We have the only occupational safety program in the state. We have so many other things that we are the only two, that I invite you to check us out as you walk, perhaps tomorrow, when the weather's a little bit better, through our campus. The one thing that is most important about Fairmont State, as I started, and I'll close with this, is that at Fairmont State, we are a family. We have faculty who are scholar teachers who want to instill in the next generation of leaders, our students, their wisdom and their expertise. We have dedicated staff who are here to ensure that our students are successful. Our administrators care deeply. We are here to train. We are here to educate the next generation of leaders, because an education in the 21st century is not only transformative, but is critical. So I'm grateful that you all chose to make tonight your destination of choice, Fairmont State University. I invite you to check us out. I invite you to relish being on a campus and enjoying all the energy that is on this campus. And I want to finish by saying, welcome home to Fairmont State University. God bless.
Now, we wouldn't be here tonight if we weren't all competing in this exciting game that was developed based off of a NASA mission, Ingenuity, which is currently on Mars. But how do those games get invented, and where does that come from? It comes from the Robotics Education and Competition Foundation. And we are fortunate today to have with us the Director of Competition for the RADC Foundation, Jim Crane.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here back in Fairmont. I was here, I have to make sure I'm not too close to that camera, sorry. I was here a number of years ago when it was the first time they did the mobile robotics using our VRC program. And I tell you what, coming back home has been amazing. So thank you so much for welcoming us back to do this. In my job, in my role at the RADC Foundation, Robotics Education and Competition Foundation, I am the Director of Competition, which means that if there's a competition that we do, I'm overseeing to make sure that all those programs are happening with purpose. Everything has a role. Everything that we're trying to do is to really instill in students, to have them have a sense of purpose in the fact that we want to bring them interest and involvement in STEM programs. Interest and involvement in STEM programs so that when we are looking for partnerships and industries that are doing this kind of things, we say, okay, what do the missions like NASA need? What does the workforce need? And how can we bring that to educational programs? How can we bring that to the students? How do we bring that to teachers? How do we bring that to classrooms? And how do we get everybody involved? It becomes an exciting opportunity for everybody. So when you look at a game like this, this is designed, it seems like it's a lot of fun with flying drones and you're racing things around and you got teamwork going on and all that's kind of obvious, but one of the things as you look at this, we're also teaching you about, air flight restrictions. You put four drones in the air, you're thinking, okay, in this kind of small space, there's going to be collisions. And tomorrow you're going to see collisions. But when you see collisions, it's going to be someone's fault. it's because they violated someone else's airspace. It's because as they were flying, they didn't follow the rules of the road. And so there's going to be a natural thing that happens that all of a sudden, you see these different arches, you're going to have red drones and blue drones. A red drone has to fly underneath the red arches. A blue drone has to fly over those red arches. So they're not going to hit each other. So that as you're going through this kind of thing, we're trying to teach students, okay, what do people have to think about as they're going through that? So as we partnership with all the industries, all the different government institutions out there, with the universities, we're really interested in developing that education so that there's learning to be had and interest to be involved in, and having those soft skills of talking to the different students that are next to them. So who's your partner in this match might be who your competitor against you is in the next match. So who you're working with might be who you're working against next time, but in the same time, everybody is all in this together, trying to figure out what's happening. So as you play this game, I hope that you look at some of the details that are going on in how we're trying to bring that kind of model to you. So I thank Fairmont for bringing us here. Thank you for allowing us to share some of the things that we've learned, and I hope that you really enjoy tomorrow's competition. It's going to be a wonderful time, so thank you very much.
And I'm excited to say that after almost 2 decades at the NASA IVNV facility, we have a new director again. And Wesdrick is the director of the Katherine Johnson Independent Verification and Validation Facility. And he was unable to make it here tonight, but he sent his warmest regards in a welcome video that we will play for you now.
Hello, and welcome to the West Virginia REC Foundation Aerial Drone Signature Event. I'm Wesdrick, the director of the NASA Independent Verification and Validation, or IVNV program. We're housed right here in Fairmont, and we get to work on some of NASA's highest profile missions, like the James Webb Space Telescope, the Artemis missions, and Dragonfly, just to name a few. We work hard to assure that the software on those missions performs correctly and safely. On our watch, we make sure no software defects impact mission operations or risk crew safety, either in flight or on the ground. It's a big job, but we're happy to do it right here in West Virginia. Many of our IVNV team members, including myself, started out just like you, with interest in science, technology, robotics, and even math. They studied, worked hard, and got to do some really cool stuff with what they learned. That's how they found their way to NASA, and I'm sure so many of you could do the same. As program director, one of the things I enjoy the most is championing students like you for opportunities just like this. I love seeing how much intelligence and talent we have to look forward to. You all are the STEM experts of tomorrow. At this weekend's event, you'll get to show the skills you've learned and perfected in your robotics activities. Many of these skills and subjects directly correlate to the kind of work we do every day here at the IVNV program. And we'd love to have you learn more and maybe even join our team one day. I hope while you're here, you'll take some time to learn more about the IVNV program and all the educational outreach we have available, including internships all year round. This tournament is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll get to see some really cool and innovative things from all of you. I wish you all the best of luck this weekend, and I hope you have a great time. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Dietrich. And getting a little more in depth into the work that we do at NASA IVNV, we have Roger Harris. He's one of the program managers, and he oversees several missions. One I think you will find very exciting. Roger?
Hi, my name is Roger Harris. I'm the project manager right now assigned to the Dragonfly project for NASA. I hope you'll forgive me for being a little bit unprepared, so I will be looking over my shoulder occasionally at the slides just to make sure where I'm at on the presentation. So basically, a lot of you are asking what is independent verification and validation. Back in 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded. And as a result of that, NASA did a study to try and understand what we did wrong and how we could make it better going forward. And one of the things that they realized was a weakness was that we weren't evaluating the software flying on NASA missions. And so our job is to look at that software. In the software development lifecycle, you have requirements, design, the code, and test things that happen as a result of that. My job is to look at all of those things and ask 3 questions. Is the software going to do what it is supposed to do? Will it not do what it is not supposed to do? And will it behave appropriately under adverse conditions? In answering those questions, I gather evidence for the stakeholders of the mission that it's not going to blow up and kill people, which is the ultimate horrible thing that could happen for any NASA mission. The program itself is over in Whitehall. You can see it from the highway as you're driving past. The first part of the slide had the picture of the facility that you could see from the highway. We are a headquarters level program from the Office of Safety and Mission Assurance, but we also report to Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. As far as selecting the missions that we do, we have an advisory board, and the way that we select the missions that we work on, because as much as I would love to look at every mission and do a complete analysis of every single piece of software that goes up into space, we don't have enough money to be able to do that. And so we have to select the missions based off of NASA priority, how much it costs, is it manned space flight, does it use any kind of nuclear power, things like that. And so that's how we kind of trim down the available software to look at to just the projects that need it the most. And so this was actually a placeholder right here for Wes Diedrich's video message. It's just a little biography for him. So we can actually just go ahead and skip past that since we've already seen his message. And who am I? I'm some jerk from Buchanan, West Virginia. My dad was in the Army, so I've lived from New York to Florida, California to Germany. I lived in Oklahoma for about 7 years. I was in the Air Force Reserves. And after that, I moved back to West Virginia and decided to go to Fairmont State. And I graduated in 2006. And so something that I wanted to make sure to communicate to you all especially was that I didn't have a background in computer science. I was an IT guy. And so I went to Fairmont State for computer science, and in 2004 I got an internship at NASA. They paid for my last 2 years of college, including books, everything I needed. And so that was huge, and it was just a small service commitment, but intern.nasa.gov, they have high school internships, they have college internships, and if you get on and they decide to pick you up into the Pathways project, then basically they pay for the rest of your way through college. They're still paying for me to go to college. They're actually going to pay for me to come back to Fairmont State this fall to take math classes, so just in order to further my career. So it's a great opportunity, and I highly recommend that you guys do that. So Dragonfly, it's a New Frontiers project. We're going to send a drone to Titan, one of Saturn's moons, and it's a really, really scientifically interesting project. So it's it has 8 rotors in a quadcopter configuration, and it's going to land on the surface of Titan and is going to bounce from location to location doing different types of science at each location. The reason why Titan is interesting, it's about 1/7 the gravity of Earth. It's about half the size of Earth. It has an incredibly dense atmosphere, and it's one of the only, it is the only moon with a dense atmosphere. So it makes it a very special place to land. The surface is covered in sand dunes, as I say on the slide. It's not quite accurate. It's more like the consistency we expect of wet coffee grounds. But instead of water in the coffee grounds, it's frozen methane. There's rivers of methane flowing along the surface freely. There's methane clouds and methane rain. But underneath this rain and all this methane, there's this frozen crust, and underneath that, we think there might be a frozen ocean of water. And in that water, we think we can find the precursors to biological life, organic life. And that's just a huge scientific win for us if we can find something like that out there. As far as the capabilities of it, rovers go slow. So I have it up there, but Yeah, 21 kilometers in the last 7 years, Curiosity has gone on Mars. But with a drone that is autonomous and it's going to fly from point to point, it can go 75 kilometers in a day. So we have a much more vast selection of scientific objectives that we can hit on Titan and eventually on Mars when we start doing drones there as well. So that's pretty big. When it gets there, we have 5 instruments, and so we're going to look for seismic activity, we're going to do weather monitoring, we're going to do special experiments on the ground. I've got a video that shows you how some of those experiments work. And it's going to take off, it's going to scout out new sites to land, and then land at a site, and then always have an extra backup place to go to whenever it lands. This is really, really far away. It's so far away that solar panels won't work on a drone like this. It has to have a nuclear generator in order to power it. And that generator does 2 things. It provides electricity, but then it also keeps it warm, because if it's cold enough to have methane rain, then it's cold enough to completely freeze the entire drone. And this isn't the same size as the drones you guys are using. This is actually closer to the size of a Volkswagen bus. It's pretty big. And it's really super exciting, and so I'm very happy to be able to work on this project. And so I've got a video for you guys just to show you kind of how it works.
Saturn's largest moon, Titan, has a thick atmosphere and a frozen surface rich in organic molecules. In 2034, a NASA mission called Dragonfly will arrive at Titan and study its chemical makeup. Dragonfly is a rotorcraft designed to visit multiple sites across the moon's varied terrain. At each new landing site on Titan's surface, Dragonfly uses a pulsed neutron generator and onboard a sensor to detect key elements such as carbon and hydrogen in organic materials or oxygen in water ice. Dragonfly determines if there are well-defined layers of these materials just below the lander. For a closer inspection, Dragonfly uses its drill to generate tailings from Titan's hard, frozen surface. These surface samples can then be ingested through the pneumatic system, carried with Titan air into the chilled sample lines and to the sample collection carousel. One of the carousel sample cups is placed in a pneumatic. The cup captures the surface material from the cold air stream and transfers it to the chemical laboratory for measurement. Pulses from a laser release large organic molecules from the surface sample for analysis in the mass spectrometer. The mass spectrometer sorts molecules by mass and measures diagnostic fragments that tell Dragonfly the kinds of chemical components that are present in the surface and whether there are molecules of prebiotic interest. For those potential prebiotic samples, a new cup is placed into an oven and heated to release molecules into a gas chromatograph, where they are sorted for size and type before entering the mass spectrometer. This advanced separation of organic components includes isolating molecules with the same formula but different chiral arrangements, or handedness. Having a preference for one-handedness over another is a key biosignature for life on Earth. When the chemical analysis is complete, Dragonfly may choose to take another surface sample or find a new location on Titan to investigate.
That's just a quick video on what we're doing and why we're doing it and what's going to happen when we get there. My last slide is really just some links. I wasn't sure if we would be able to distribute these later on, but it looks like we will be able to. So it's just the Dragonfly mission website, the IVNV website, the NASA intern website, intern.nasa.gov, please remember that. And I found a video that explains into much greater detail the nature of the mission and a lot more about the science behind it at that bottom link there. So Todd will be able to distribute that for you guys later. Thank you very much.
I am so excited. It's a flying laboratory. That is super cool. And one of the things that we do at the Education Resource Center at the NASA IVNV facility is we train other educators on exciting STEM activities. But where do those activities come from in the first place? I'm proud to introduce Troy Klein. the Public Outreach Project Manager for Space Science Missions at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, who's going to be the lead for the Dragonfly Missions Outreach Program.
Thank you, Todd. Wow, it is so good to be back in West Virginia. This is my home state. I was raised in a place called Parkersburg, Ravenswood, near the Ohio River, and then moved to Petersburg, West Virginia, where after a while I went to WVU, and my sister went there and also here to Fairmont State and knew her friends here at Fairmont State. So coming back over, the highway and the interstate, going past Deep Creek Lake and all of that brought back incredible memories of Cooper's Rocks and all of it. It was just, I had an absolute blast. I was a professional student. I decided to be a student for as long as I possibly could, and I really loved it. Now, it was because of the education that I was able to acquire here in this state that I was able to eventually go straight from West Virginia University to the Navajo Indian Reservation. And I was a teacher for about 5 years there and worked on the reservation in the middle of absolute nowhere, but in the most beautiful landscape you can imagine. I went from there with all of that inspiration and joined the United States Peace Corps and went to Chad, Africa, where I taught math and algebra and geometry in an elephant grass hut with about 300 students who all sat on the ground, and I had one chalkboard and a math book that was in French. And I didn't know French very well, so I had to learn French as I was teaching, which was incredibly hard. But it also gave me a lot of motivation to use my hands a lot and to look into any form of low to high-end technologies that could help me explain to multiple audiences what it was I was trying to teach. That eventually led to me working in alternative education with at-risk students near Washington, D.C. and Virginia. And while I was there, I got really interested in educational technology and leadership and finished a master's in that program, which showed me the importance of turning kids on with their brains to any type of technology that will take them to that next level, to make them want to leap into that thing that they love the most. And that's what's so wonderful about great uses of technology and all of the different things that we're seeing here. There are students out there who will just thrive on this, and it will make them go to that next level. The light bulb goes off. It's their passion. There are students who will not look at this. They could care less, but boy, will they get into 3D printers and Arduino and Raspberry Pi and coding, or any other type of technology. And as educators, it's our job to find out what is it that will inspire that student to do something. Now, all of that was really the foundation behind what the next career path that I chose to follow. And that was to just cold turkey send my resume and send a nice email to as many people at NASA as I could find on the internet. And that's how I ended up getting a job at Goddard Space Flight Center for the past 20 years. I actually got calls back because in that resume, and this is for the students as you're getting ready to look for jobs and careers, there are many different ways to do that and to find your passion and look for it. There are internships, which I heard about, which are incredible ways to get your foot in the door. But there's also the idea of just communicating with people, getting to know people, networking as much as you can to get to know these people who can get your foot in the door so you can meet someone who says, hey, I know a program that you might like. And those people that you'll be introduced to will take you to that next level. And that's kind of how it happened. So I started working in something called heliophysics, which is the study of space weather while I was at Goddard Space Flight Center. And that meant I got to work with missions like SOHO and SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory. And some of these missions you may have heard of, but they're the ones that are flying into space and studying the nearest star we have, which is our sun. And why do we need to study our sun so much right now? It's been there for all this time, and we've been around for millions of years. Why now do we need to study the sun? What changed? Well, we changed. Our technology changed. We are going into space. We're sending spacecrafts and satellites into space, and we're sending them into a very inhospitable environment, and an environment we call space weather, which is our sun is belching out billions of tons of plasma and solar wind in all directions at all times. And if we're not ready for that, it can give astronauts lethal doses of radiation if we're not prepared for that. It can destroy satellites in a flash if we're not ready for that. So in our endeavors to go to Mars with human spaceflight and even live on the moon and go further into space, we have to know how to live with our sun. So when you look at the slide, you can kind of see that. There's my 8x10 glossy. I'll be signing autographs in the back. I'm just kidding. But that's me up in the left. And down in the second row to the far right, you see some kids standing in front of a spacecraft holding a cake. Those are students who came to Goddard Space Flight Center from the second smallest school in the state of West Virginia, confronted me with their teacher and said, "Can you help us? We would like to build a replica of one of your spacecraft called the Magnetospheric Multi-Scale Mission." And so we gave them some money. They turned their shop in their school into their clean room, and over the course of the year, they actually built a life-size replica of that spacecraft that is hanging in the Children's Museum in Morgantown right now. If you get a chance, that's a program that West Virginian kids did, and they blew everyone away with the work that they did. It really was incredible. And one of those students, and I'm not allowed to say which one, but she was a select mute. That meant that she had gone through trauma in her life, and up until that point, couldn't speak. She had the ability to speak, but she just could not mentally get the words out of her mouth. She wanted to be an engineer on this team so badly, that passion, that light bulb went off in her head, that she started to write down words at the beginning of the year to communicate with the team members. She started to speak one word at a time. That turned into sentences, and by the end of the year, she was a chatterbox. She is the one in that picture who explained to me how they built and what they did. And Todd Ensign, you were one of the main components of that program. Todd also introduced me to the first robotics team at WVU, and also the people who were building the Lego models for us for several of our missions. Now, I don't have much time, and I'm going to fly through what I'm doing right now. But on the next slide, this is just a quick picture of where I work now. So I left Goddard Space Flight Center last year and had the opportunity to become the outreach project manager for several spaceflight missions, including one that's right behind me. This is called, as you may now know from that great presentation just a second ago, the Dragonfly mission. And I have a model of Dragonfly right here. It's a 1/10 scale model. The real one will be 10 times bigger than this, 10 times. So it is a huge model that's going to fly around Titan. You heard all about that. I'll have this model out for display later so you can take a closer look if you'd like. Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, where I work now with all of these space science missions, has been around since 1942. And there are about 8,000 employees there, and it's just up the street from Goddard, so I didn't have to go very far. And in the next slide, this shows you all of the different types of things you can do at a place like Johns Hopkins University's Applied Physics Laboratory. They work with defense contractors, they work with civil space, and multitudes of other things, as you can see. I focus mostly on space science and engineering. And in the next slide, you're going to be able to see all of the different types of spacecraft that we are doing now, we did in the past, and we're doing in the future. Now, on that back table in the far corner, there's a round table way, way in the back. And back there are some charts that look just like that you can take with you if you'd like, and there are also some Dragonfly fact sheets of everything that our gentleman just talked about a while ago. On those fact sheets, you're welcome to those as well. In the next slide, I have just some very quick run-throughs of the missions that I represent. One is called Parker Solar Probe. That is in space now, and it is the fastest spacecraft we've ever built. It is flying using Venus, actually, to help slow it down, and that allows it to go closer and closer and closer to the sun. And we've actually been able to fly right through the corona of the sun. It is the only spacecraft that has ever been that close to the sun, and it's continually getting closer and closer. It'll have its closest approach in 2024. Next slide. This is called IMAP. That mission is the Interstellar Mapping and Acceleration Probe. That is actually going to be studying the very outer perimeter of our solar system, and to be able to see intergalactic space and how our heliosphere interacts with intergalactic space, and that's going to give us quite a bit of information. It launches in 2025. DART, this is really super cool. If you don't know about DART, you need to look it up. Just type in, you can go to the DART website, just type in DART and type in JHUAPL or NASA, and you'll find all this information. This just launched from the SpaceX in Vandenberg in November. It's on its way to the Dimorphos and Didymos system. That is an asteroid with its own moon. The moon is about the size of the Roman Colosseum, and it's flying around its own little asteroid. We're sending that spacecraft to hit the moon. Now, do we want to blow it up? No, we just want to kind of tap it. We want to slow it down a little bit and see how much we can slow it down. We think we can slow it down by 72 seconds. Why is that important? Well, it's a test. We know one day, odds are, there will be an asteroid that big enough that could do some serious damage to Earth. If we see that ahead of time, we want to know we can intercept it with a spacecraft, not to blow it up like Armageddon did in that crazy movie a long time ago, because that would shower tons of debris on Earth. We don't want to move it out of the way. What we're going to do is basically slow that asteroid down before it gets to us, so Earth has enough time in its orbit to move out of the way, so it'll pass right through and never hit us. So that is a really important mission. It's the first planetary defense mission we've ever had, and it's going to impact that asteroid in September. So make sure you go online. We're going to have a huge thing online, lots of people talking about it, and you'll be able to be part of that. And we have a lot of people concerned because they saw the movie Don't Look Up, if you saw that. And this is kind of in that, a little bit in that realm. And the next slide. These are the last slides I want to show you. I just want you to know when you go to the DART website, you'll be able to find really cool Lego models of the DART spacecraft that you can build with the designs and all the parts lists, thanks to our students at in West Virginia who built that. And then the next one, this is something that I have QR codes for 3 spacecraft that I talked about. There is a little note card, a little tiny card that's on that back table back there. All you have to do is scan it, and from the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happens. You're going to scan it, just the QR code, just like you would a menu in a restaurant. You don't have to download software or anything like that. So I have a guy back here. He's going to be helping me with showing you what you'll do with your phone when you open it up and scan the code. We'll see if you can get that on for you real quick. I'm getting my phone ready too. I was hoping I could make it big enough so you could scan the QR code from the screen, but that didn't work out. So here we go. So what he's going to do, if you wouldn't mind operating that, and I'll just talk you through, because it's going to be super easy. Do you have the QR code on you? Yeah, do the DART spacecraft. Oh, you already have it. All right. And he's going to, so what you're looking at, on your phone, you're first going to see you can move that spacecraft around with your finger. He's using his thumb on his iPad, and he's scanning the spacecraft. He can pinch it, make it bigger, smaller, and you can look at it, and all of that's like super cool. Now, the really cool thing to do, though, is, so he just tapped view in your space. That is a life-size. He's working, when it gets up to 100%, that's going to show you a life-size model of that spacecraft sitting in the room as if it's in here with me right now. And what's really super cool about it, and you can see me, I think I can walk over, yeah, I think I'm patting it right now. It's this way. It's right there. So what he can do is he can walk around and explore that spacecraft through his phone, through augmented reality on his own. And that's really cool. And what we're going to do with that is make it so that you can walk into our spacecraft and see the insides and the mechanics and see some of the really cool components of what actually make these things tick. We are going to be working on one for Dragonfly, which will be super cool because it's going to be the size of a bus, and you can actually walk into it and take a look at all of the components and pieces and how it's powered, and the rotors, especially for these awesome drone competitions that you're doing. You're going to be able to really see how this stuff works. So thank you very much. There are 2 other spacecraft, the Parker Solar Probe and IMAP, that you can now look at and scan and put it in your living room, on your hand, take pictures with it, or whatever you'd like to do. Now for Dragonfly, we're going to be creating as many activities and programs as we can. Everything from working with, hopefully, this whole group and the wonderful things that you're doing here. I'd love to see Dragonfly be part of that over the next several years. and come up with some competitions that way. And also with the International Society of Technology and Education. We're going to come up with lots of ways that in maker spaces in schools and libraries and after-school programs that you can be a real part of these missions through citizen science opportunities and things that will actually help ignite you and your students. So with that, I've taken more time than I should. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and again, I am so excited to be back in my home state. Thank you.
Okay, that was awesome. So I did a little interview earlier with the Times West Virginian, and they said, why drones? Why are we doing this? Why are the students coming here? And I said, wow, I mean, they get to learn teamwork and collaboration. There's communication skills. There's strategy. They have to learn how to play the game with a team they just got assigned to. They learn computer coding, and they're learning science and math. Oh, and it's drones, and it's so cool. So I am so glad that you guys are all here. Thank you for staying for the opening and welcome. And tomorrow morning, our doors will open at 7:30, as will our Starbucks. So I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for participating in our largest ever RAD tournament. Have a great night.